Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Soul Rising podcast. My name is Amanda McCoy Flanagan. I'm so grateful that you have chosen to click on this show. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much. So glad that you found me. I always have wonderful guests. I always have really interesting, cool people. And I'm so excited today to bring you my friend, Jenny Greenstein. We went to high school together. Jenny was just always so cool. You're just so cool. And I saw your post yesterday about Bob Weir passing.
Yeah. All right.
You're just like that super chill, really awesome girl in high school. So we reconnected on social media a few years ago. And Jenny has a really unique take on our style, what it says about us, how it confirms or denies our identity, and how to shift into the truth of who we are, our authenticity. So Jenny's here and she's going to share some of that with us today. Thank you. And I'm going to read a little bit of her bio and then we're going to just jump into our conversation. After more than a decade styling for global fashion brands, Jenny founded Your Soul Style to explore the intersections of identity, self-expression, and personal truth. A certified life coach trained through the Co-Active Training Institute, she works as a coach first and stylist second, beginning not in the closet, but in the client's story. Her approach integrates emotional and psychological transformation, helping clients move beyond aesthetics to create a wardrobe that feels intentional, embodied, and deeply aligned with who they are becoming. So cool and different. Hi, Jenny. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So this is just all really different. Tell us, what brought you to this work and why are you passionate about it?
Well, I think that I know. I mean, there was always something within me that was attached to self-expression. I mean, even as a kid, it was so important to me to really stand in my truth and have that come forward in how I dressed. And like, I intuitively knew it even as a kid. I didn't have the words or the language for it, right? Like when you think about being in like 6th grade or 7th grade, when I think your identity is really starting to take shape. I now have a 10-year-old and I'm almost watching it happen with her too. Yeah. For some reason, that like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade moment. And I can recall actually being that age where it's funny. I was sitting in my bed one night and I was like, I had a pad and I had a pen and I was writing down almost what would look like an intake, like name, favorite color, what's your style, how do you dress? And, more high level questions. Obviously, I wasn't getting really into like the psychological components of it when I was 11 or 12. This idea was like almost born then, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, I've been doing this work for so much time. And like, I vividly remember that that's what happened for me. And even, starting in 7th grade, like me playing with new ways of expressing myself. And obviously, it's very easy to assimilate and to conform when you're in your middle school years. And I'm sure that there was some of that was happening for me. But at the same time, I also really wanted to stand in my truth and in my power and my uniqueness and find ways of expressing myself that were really interesting and different. And I mean, I'm sure you remember going to Bonnie's Jeans back in the day. And I was just like a vintage denim store. And I would like really pay attention and be intentional about like bell bottoms and cut off shorts. And how can I make this really unique? And how could I make this mine? And that really was where the seed was planted. And then it continued to develop. Obviously, as I've got older, my style changed and evolved. And there were definitely moments where I felt very far away from it. And it's interesting when I think about my life in retrospect, because sometimes I look at old photos and I look at photos of myself and I almost know intuitively and instinctively that I was struggling in that moment of my life because I can tell and remember that I didn't feel embodied based on what I wore. I can like feel it in my bones. I'm like, I don't look like me. I don't know what was happening for me then. And I almost had this like empathy for that person going through that moment or that transition in their life, which was me. And I remember just feeling like I was lost. And, through my own process and my own growth process, growth work has always been very important to me. I went through these different stages and I learned and I found tools and I evolved and then I felt more aligned and then I felt misaligned. And as I continued to change and morph as a person, I mean, this was my story. This was my journey. And the idea was born of Your Soul Style. I went back to school to get my master's in social work after I had worked in fashion for a long time, because I had this hunger to understand more of like the psychological components of, I mean, life in general. Then I was like, these are like almost like integrated, and an idea clicked inside of me. And that's really where Your Soul Style was born. And it's that intersection of inner and outer identity and making sure that there is alignment there.
Going back to talking about like being young and making that intake form. I love that. Is really insightful as a kid. And yes, you always did dress cool. Like I remember your cutoff shorts. Like I don't know, you just different. You just like stuck out as just like you really felt authentic to me then, and you definitely feel authentic to me now. You just had different energy about you. You and Jackie Lichtenstein.
Jackie Lichter. Yes. Jackie's still my best friend. Jackie is still my best friend.
Shout out to Jackie. Yeah. Hi, Jackie.
Yes. Cool.
Was there something that you felt was holding back your self-expression as a kid? I mean, what's the story there, if you're willing to tell us?
I mean, I think there will always be external influences in our lives. Like when I talk to my clients, we talk a lot about noise and influence. I mean, when we talk about modern day times, we talk about social media being like a huge influence in our lives, but we really want to take it a step deeper. What is like familial influence? What were your friends saying? What was like your social group saying? What was your social group outside of that? Like the bigger social group at large, in your high school, your town. Where are you from? Like geography. What does your culture say about style? So you have all of this noise. I mean, as an adult, we have a noise from our partner influence. What are the comments that they're saying when we walk out and we're dressed? And sometimes I'm a product of this, and I think we all can be. We that voice gets too loud. It gets too loud, and we can't listen to our own anymore, and we lose it. And it gets confusing. And what I really, try to do for myself, it's almost like it's a constant practice. Like any self-care practice is remembering to listen to our own voice and how to tune into it. And we have to do that with our personal style as well, or else all of that influence will become too loud and will become disconnected to our authentic way of showing up.
Mm-hmm. What made it feel like for a person who's wearing something and they kind of know, or they feel uncomfortable in it? Like aside from just feeling uncomfortable, what kind of thoughts might be going through somebody's head? Like that's kind of shouting, but not yet. Like maybe that sensing of like, this isn't me.
We feel like we're wearing a costume. I think it doesn't feel like us. It feels like we're showing up as something that's not us. And that really domino effects into self-esteem issues and productivity, and it makes impact. You walk out your door, you're not feeling embodied, you're not feeling aligned, you kind of feel like you're wearing a costume, you're completely uncomfortable. How are you going to start your day from an empowered place if that's the first thing that's happening for you? So building your sense of style really impacts every single area of your life. I mean, I've had clients tell me that they haven't gone out in weeks. If they're single, if they're dating, I don't really have anything to wear. I'm stuck. So I don't feel ready or ripe or confident enough to put something on and step into the world and feel really great. So actually, I just don't even bother. Mm-hmm. It really actually makes impact. There has to be intentionality around what we're wearing. And when we look at style through the lens of really understanding our identity, there's a lot that we can actually uncover in that process.
Yeah, it feels like, like last year, the snake and the shedding. I feel like your business is just going to start booming, because I think people are just like yearning for authenticity, and what you wear is a direct expression of that. So what I was thinking as you were speaking, the word masks came to mind, right? Costume, masks. Do you think that the way somebody can come into their authentic expression is by, I love that you do the coaching around it, right? Because you can't just say, okay, drop the mask. Like, who are you? Like, be authentic. So like what goes into that process of getting rid of that mask so that you feel safe enough to really show the world who you are?
Before I work with any client, like before we even touch clothes, we have what I like to call a style coaching session. And it's a 2-hour really juicy conversation that really basically goes through someone's like lived experience, their like personal narrative. Even the first question is like, why are you here? Like, what are we doing? What are your goals? And, obviously everybody's different, but we need to establish sort of like, where are we going to end when we're done with this? Like, what are your goals? Why are you here? Like, where do you want to be? And I talk to clients through, again, we talk a lot about their influences is a huge one. Their lifestyle, where are you going every day? Or like, how do you need to dress? For what? Do you feel like, you're like, for an example, women, I'm going to use women as an example because I work with men and women. So women who work in corporate America, right? Or in finance, where it's like a super buttoned up profession that they feel they need to wear a suit or something really stiff or something really buttoned up or really polished. And then they come to me and say, yeah, I wear, a suit to work. It's like super buttoned up. I don't really care because it's like Monday through Friday. It's like work. It like doesn't really matter. Like, this is what I have to do. It's kind of like checking a box. And my question to them is like, but why? How do we create a way to meet the moment? Right? There's obviously an expectation. You're not wearing like cut off jean shorts to work. So it's like, how do we meet the moment? But how do we sort of bring yourself forward in that? How do we find a happy medium where we're dressing for the end use, meaning where we're going, but we stay true to ourselves? Like, what are our strategies? We build mood boards. We look at images together. We talk about where someone's from. We could talk about like, say, you're from New York, we're from Long Island. There's obviously like a certain like social culture there that influences our personal style. You now live in Colorado, which is a totally different environment. So personal style is almost different or varies in both environments. You're more immersed in nature. We were just talking about it there. Like, Long Island is more suburban. You're closer to New York City. So when I talk to clients, it's like, how much of your origins or like where you're from do you want to bring forward into where you are now? How much still really resonates with you? You've changed your location. You're not there anymore. Do you want to let go of that, or do you want to hold on to that? And if there are pieces that you want to hold on to that, what still resonates? What still works? Because we are constantly evolving as creatures and humans. We are changing I hope, we're changing all the time. And even if you don't want to change, it's inevitable. Like, you're going to change. Like, life is changing no matter, how much effort or like no effort you put into it, something's going to give. So what still holds, and like what to keep and what to leave, what to keep and what to leave. And that question needs to constantly be happening around your personal style too. As we evolve, so our closets need to evolve as well. Or else again, we start to become slowly disconnected from it. And we just don't feel like there is an alignment.
So can we talk a minute about what just popping in my head is dressing for the man? Like, yeah. Like the women wearing suits saying, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, do we, like, as culture, as society, as things are shifting, as systems are crumbling, as big changes, right, are going on. I mean, of course, like you say, not going to wear like jean shorts, but like, do you think women are going to have a little bit more latitude in what they're allowed to wear? Or like, can they already do that somewhat? Do you think maybe there's fear there, right? Like, there's this whole, like, I have to show up in a man's world or else I'm not going to be heard. I'm not going to be taken seriously. How do you think we can evolve in a different way, like a more collective way now, not just like client-based, I'm asking, but more like, how can we evolve in that way where our clothes can be an expression of our changing society?
Well, I do think that, I mean, like in this post-pandemic world, there was already a shift there. I saw it really happen with my clients pre and post. Obviously, like majority of my clients are New York City based, so like I'm a little bit biased because it's like, this little bubble that we live in here. But there was definitely a change between before and after, and things did get more relaxed, I would say, like within at least that like rigid or formal corporate world.
Okay.
That goes for men and women. Dress codes did shift, and I think they became a little bit looser. As far as like dressing for the man, dressing for the partner, dressing for the parent, whoever it is, you can sort of like plug and play any name you want. I don't drink that Kool-Aid. I don't sign up for that. And I really, really try to coach my clients to get to a place where, again, they can sort of have some boundaries around that kind of influence, or else it really infiltrates and makes it's not a great thing when you're wearing something that you feel beautiful in and your partner says, I don't think it looks so great. And then you go in your room and you change. I mean, that sort of speaks volumes to me. There's some work that needs to happen around that. That noise, that voice is too loud. There's too much influence. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate like the validity from my partner if I feel great. And I don't know if I get a feedback that's like, it doesn't, I don't really love it. And I could process that, but then I have to like sort of take a time out and pause and be like, okay, but I like it. That's cool. It's great. You know, like I have to sort of like take a think on it and make sure that it's something that I still stand behind. And if it is, I need to move forward in that way. And I do that. Again, that's been a practice my whole life. Like, it doesn't impact me as much. Those outside voices don't impact me as much, but that's because I've been practicing it for so long.
You've been doing it for a long time. I feel like in that moment, if that was me and my husband said, oh yeah, that doesn't, he probably would never do that because I think he knows better. But if he ever did, if I asked him and he gave me an honest opinion, I feel like I would have to like ground back into who I am, really remind myself of my identity. Like I wear this like black denim like jean jacket often, and I roll up to sleep like, and I don't know, that might look like 90s grunge to some people, and they might be like, that's what she, you know, but I don't care because that's
so maybe you want to maybe you want to look like
I like that. I like that. I think it's
that's a part of like you.
It's who I am. So if somebody was to look at me and judge me, I think it's just like remembering who I am. And that's been coming up a lot lately. I've been going through a big shift, and which can make me, these big shifts and transitions can make us doubt ourselves and be like, who am I really? But they're opportunities, right? They're opportunities to say like, or to change and say, I'm allowed. And this is really who I am now. I'm really not who I was a few years ago, right? Like, and I feel like the work happens and like in my head, they say, right, the longest journey is from the head to the heart. And it's sometimes like I know things in my head, but I'm still kind of stuck back here. It's almost like part of me is like ahead and I'm kind of still behind. And I think that happens with style. I think that happens with my style specifically, where I'll still be wearing something, but that's not really who I am. So maybe there's a moment of like catch up. It's probably like a catch up period where like I have to come into that. All this stuff takes time, like you're saying, and practicing, getting comfortable in that.
Yeah. And there's no shame in that. It's like information, right? It's like us learning about ourselves, releasing the shame around that, and like looking at it, like the reframe is that it's information for you, right? It's a signal, and you need to listen to that signal and like, let's dissect it. What does it mean? Let's look at it through a microscope and let's figure it out. Let's get real. I have a 10-year-old, again, like I said earlier, like who's sort of coming into herself and her identity, and, you know, she'll get dressed and obviously she'll be like, mommy, like, what do you think? Yeah. And, you know, I have an opportunity here. Like what? And, you know, if you're curious, like, what do I say? I'm gonna be like, what do you think? I don't even answer, you know, like, I don't even say anything. She's like, no, like, tell me. You tell me first. How do you feel? What do you think? I make her go there. Because awesome. I don't want my voice in her head.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
And then it becomes like embedded, you know, like
it becomes real for them. And it's not.
That's not always their inner voice. And I don't want my voice to be her inner voice. I want her to figure out what her own is. So I answer a question by asking a question. So I'm forcing her to answer it herself.
And that's a coaching tool, right? That's like coaching 101.
It all has to come from the person. It all has to be born from the person.
Exactly.
As it should, you know?
Yes, for sure. So how much of this work is spiritual? Because I often see things from you in your captions and your posts and stuff, and you do talk about spirituality. It's not in your bio. When I read emotional and psychological, I was wondering about us. We're a spirit, and obviously not religion. I think listening and watching my show for a while, you know, I'm not religious. So what part does spirituality play in this, if at all?
I mean, I would say like the word like essence and like energetics is what comes to my mind when you say spirituality. Um, because I think there is like a certain essence that we like to express. What does that mean? Obviously, that's different for everyone, but like spirituality comes forward, essence comes forward for each individual person depending on their relationship with it. So when I create a mood board for a client, we basically look at tons of images on Pinterest, right? And I have my clients and me collaborate and intuitively put in that like ongoing feed images that like speak to them, that like they feel connected to whatever that means. Like that could be me, that feels like me, that really feels like in alignment with me. That's my goals, that's my aspirations are like that. Something about that really speaks to me. When I'm done with that, and then I make more of like a cohesive, I then like sort of like pull together 10 to 15 images that I think describe or encapsulate, basically their essence. And when I talk to them in like sort of a debrief mood board meeting, I say to them, I don't want you to look at this and dissect every single image that you see on this board. What I want you to tell me is, how does this feel? Does this feel like you? Like, don't tell me that you don't like that color. Don't tell me you don't like those shoes. Like, I don't want to know that. All I want to know is, does this feel like your essence, like an overarching essence? And I think that imagery can be very, very powerful in that way. And then I obviously using that as a springboard and as a tool to then move forward and do more of the tangible pieces that layer on later. But like what I'm really trying to capture is a person's essence from the jump. I don't know if that answers your question, but to me, that's like what came to my mind.
Yes, totally. And in the feeling, I would think it would be, how does it feel in my body? Now, if somebody was to say to you, I look at that, has anybody, I should ask, said to you, I look at that and that gives me anxiety. Like, do people feel anxious wearing certain things? So I've been doing a lot with my spiritual mentor about getting out of the mind and into the body and all that. So when you say the word feel, right? It's not, what do I think? It's what do I feel?
Yeah.
So it's in the body. So do you ever get like visceral reactions from people? Like when you suggest, you can actually wear this. Like, you don't have to be a movie star. You can wear this too.
Yes, things are accessible. Things can be accessible. I think my process, I do it with kid gloves. I do a lot of like gentle nudging. What I tell clients is that I'm not trying to recreate something. I'm really just trying to draw forward what I think already lives inside of you.
Yes,
so I'm almost like styling through your eyes. So the more information that you can tell me, it's like I'm choosing what I think would be you, like through my lens, but I'm really taking in everything about what you're saying. So like the more information, the better, right? I don't know if anybody's ever used specifically the word anxiety, but I've definitely gotten pushback, like plenty of pushback on things that I've introduced. I gently nudge, like I said, but I also say to clients like, okay, if you're not willing to go here, are you willing to sort of like toe dip into it? Like, would you do like this little thing about it? And if they're just like, I'm telling you, Jenny, like, this is just not for me. I'm just like, I'm so glad you shared that with me. Now we know. Now we know. And I'm really like proud of you for really listening to your own voice, sharing it with me. And I think that's a reason why, when I work with clients is that we have such a beautiful relationship, is because like, again, I'm not trying to force upon anybody what I think. This is not about me. This is about your soul style, not my soul style. And with all of this like social media and influencer culture and like the shoulds and like what you should be doing and what's trendy, and it's like, no. This is all about harnessing your own voice. Like, we really need to create some like, defining lines around that and like what you allow to come in.
Feels so empowering as you're speaking. I'm just feeling more and more like empowered, like for your clients, like thinking how they must feel when they're like, oh yes, wow. And what is holding me back? And that awareness and the enlightenment and just being like, wow. So yes, the coaching goes so well with all of this. It makes so much sense.
Yes.
I'm just curious, do you have any information about like colors and like what, I mean, I'm sure you do. are there sort of like generalizations around like why somebody would choose to wear dark colors versus brighter colors? Does this say something about their personality? What are colors about?
I mean, I've never done like a color study, so I don't want to like speak to like the specifics of like the color study. But I think that like you could assume, I mean, I know that if someone comes to me, because we talk about colors, I mean, if you're going to go bold, if you're going to like kind of like go into like reds or bright oranges or any kind of like high contrast color palette, like you really want to be seen and you're trying to be seen. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's great. Again, like that's wonderful. You want to step into a room and you really want to feel like noticed. And then there's obviously like, I live in New York. A lot of people dress in neutral colors.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I probably would say, like, talking to a New Yorker.
Yeah, minimal, a little bit more of like a subtle color palette. And that's not necessarily that they like don't want to be seen, but it's like, it's almost just more of like an understated way. It's not like the first thing to be noticed or like the first thing to be seen. Colors do make impact. I mean, I think culture also plays a role in that. I mean, when you talk about somebody from like who grew up in India and now lives in the United States, like it's a much more colorful country, and colors represent certain things. And I don't know all of them, so I don't want to speak to all of it, but that's sort of where the conversation can come in. Yeah, I grew up in a culture where color was really celebrated. Now I live in New York and like everybody's wearing like black and navy and neutrals and khaki and, dark green. Okay, well, how much does color still matter to you? Because we can figure out a way to find a happy balance between both. Like we shouldn't let it go just because it doesn't serve the environment that you're living in right now. We'll just find a way and a strategy how to integrate it in a way that makes sense, that's more balanced for your new environment.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking about when I moved out here from New York. It was such a culture shock in many ways, like a lot of vests, hats, just like different things based on where we are, kind of simpler in terms of like nature inspired type of fashion, or just like the greens, the browns, like just being more to the earth, I guess you could say, dressing a little bit more like that. And I was aware that I didn't want to I call it that I assimilated. I say that I keep my New Yorkness and then I assimilated parts of Colorado that feel right to me. Not just because I want to fit in and not just because I live here now do I need to do that. But maybe I always wanted to wear that, but I just didn't because it wasn't like I've had such a crazy talk about growth since I moved here. Like my first I got sober in 2006, moved out here in 2015. 9 years sober, I still didn't know myself. Moving out here was like the best thing that ever happened to me because I had this like crazy identity crisis. And then I got to like really tap into like, who am I really? And then being in a new place, it was like, well, what parts of New York do I want to keep? Like you're talking about. And what parts of Colorado am I now feeling comfortable? And that always changes, like you said before.
Yeah. And that also happens like that. That's like a very like deep level. You're talking about an actual move, which kind of like is a huge transition. But even if you think about like your daily life, like where you're going, right? Or a vacation, right? Like you're going to, I don't even know, you're going to Mexico City versus I just was in Finland versus I'm going to Colorado, I want to tell you right in March. Like you're talking about three very different places. For an example, like when I'm packing, I get like so made fun of because I like pack like very far in advance. That's a strategy for myself because I want to be intentional about it because I really almost like think about and study and research the environment I'm going to so that I can make sure that I'm Jenny, New York City Jenny, is showing up and is still present in that new environment. But I do want to bring in some elements so that I feel like I can assimilate to your point to where I am. And there is a way to do that. It's very strategic and it takes thoughtfulness. Like it takes time. Again, like this is a self-care practice. We can't just operate in default mode and autopilot in anything that we do. Like you want to be intentional, you want to be conscious, right? Like we're mindful people, we're mindful, conscious creatures. I mean, I am, right? Like that's my approach to it, right? That's what I bring. That's like the learnings that I bring to my client. These are the practices that I like them to put into play in their own lives when they're not with me. So there's the big moves, right? That's a huge shift, like a physical transition from one city to another. And then there's like the daily, like I'm going to, a charity event versus I'm going to the park versus I'm going to a black tie event versus I'm going, you were constantly having to sort of morph into new environments. And it doesn't mean we need to sort of like, we shouldn't like leave who we are on the table. We need to bring ourselves forward to these new environments and also be careful about where we're going to. We need to shift. We need to make changes there.
I was thinking person forward as you were talking. I love that you provide that space for people to not feel like so pressured, like you have to be yourself 24/7 everywhere you are. If you wear this there, you need to wear this there. You know, like you can. It's fun. Why not?
Yes, of course.
You have that opportunity to like, okay, I've always wanted to wear a kimono on the beach. So I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to get that kimono I always wanted to wear, you know, like even though I wouldn't wear a kimono to the supermarket here. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you dress for where you're at with still keeping you know, person-centered, person forward, your essence with you.
Yes. I mean, we're dynamic creatures. We can be in a lot of places. We have so many different parts of ourselves. Like how fun is it that when we go to a new place, we get to play with that a little bit and in our clothing? Like that's so cool.
The parts. So in your coaching, does any of that kind of stuff come up? Like psychological, like parts of me, what parts am I neglecting? What parts am I repressing? And then allowing them to come forward? And do you use just the style aspect of bringing it always back to style? Or do you do other kinds of coaching?
I mean, at this point, most of my coaching work is really integrated with your soul style. So it's working with clients on like a 3-month program. I used to work with clients prior to getting my certification in life coaching on a little bit more of like more style focused with some unofficial coaching elements to it. And it would be a little bit more, I would do like one and done or a la carte offerings. And now it's more of like a container. I really only offer a 3-month container. And I've learned through the over 10 years I've been doing this, that to get like the full transformative impact, like it really does take that amount of time.
You need to commit. You know, it's work.
It's work.
Because, you know, maybe we've been hiding underneath this false facade, like you're saying, like that mask or that protection or whatever, that like, I can't stand out. Like I shouldn't, you know, or why am I not being confident?
Well, it's so interesting that you're saying that, because something that what you just said brought to my mind is, you know, I tell clients that when we kind of do we shop and then we do the styling session, and then they have all of these looks that, you know, maybe are a departure from how they've dressed in the past. Still them, right? Their essence. It's actually more them than they've ever been, but they have never shown up like this before. So people might notice, right? Like you might get some feedback in the world. And I don't know if of course it can be negative. It can be hopefully really positive. It can be indifferent. It could just be like, you know, a notice, a comment that just says like, I just noticed something shifted within you. And I kind of front load my clients by saying like, well, I ask them first, are you going to be okay with that? Like, how is that going to make you feel when someone acknowledges what you're wearing? And that, you know, becomes a conversation, or that becomes a little bit more prevalent at first. The reason why someone is probably taking notice is because something has shifted in you. That's why they're noticing. Are you okay with that? Like, does that feel safe? You know, like you will be more seen now. And most clients, you know, they sort of pause and they reflect for a minute and they're like, I think so, you know, like that, because you just said that we hide behind our clothes, you know, like we do something more simple or easy or less noticeable. We stay in our lanes a lot. We kind of get comfortable. I mean, we all do. We're all creatures of habit. I'm no different. You know, I have my own uniform. But if I shifted, like if I went to a stylist, I went to a me and did this deep study, or maybe perhaps about something else, not style, but like something you know, that I was working on intentionally, there would be some observations perhaps and some feedback. So, you know, you got to get comfortable with the fact that there might be some of that happening within the transition. And I want to kind of create some padding around that for my clients. So they're almost like ready. They're primed for it. So that when that happens, it's not like, you know, they don't feel like they're sort of like hanging out on a ledge. And I don't typically get feedback after that that's like, oh my God, I just felt so uncomfortable. Usually it's like, so many people said how good I looked. Like, I can't believe it. That's like the building blocks, right? Like, these are now like the building blocks and, you know, and creating that full embodied self-expression that's very authentic and very aligned and feels very empowering. And then it just kind of like snowballs from there. And that becomes your new baseline. That's like your new normal. Like, you have leveled up. You have leveled up.
And I'm not saying that like we need outside external validation in order to feel good about ourselves or confident or have self-worth, but I definitely think it helps. I think as human beings, let's be honest, we all like to hear, oh, you look great.
It's great to be acknowledged.
I do.
You know, there's nothing wrong with I mean, there's nothing wrong with healthy acknowledgement. You know, healthy acknowledgement.
It's very healthy. It's very healthy. So that brings me to your sobriety, which congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You said people noticing, right?
Yes.
Looks like stepping into a room, going somewhere, people like, oh, wow, you know, that's different or whatever, you know? How have you handled people noticing that you're not drinking? What does that look like for you?
I guess it's like close, maybe it's 3.5 years. And at first, yes, it was interesting. People almost like wanted, there was almost like some like, not resentment's not the right word, pushback or like questioning. I think that like when I found that when I stopped drinking and I sort of declared that, it made other people sort of think about their own relationship to alcohol, right? It's sort of just naturally. And I would probably say the same thing if somebody said to me, like, this was like maybe before I started working out, which is relatively recent, you know, I've just like this just amazing like movement practice, or like I love going to the gym. It would like sort of trigger something in me that I'd be like, oh, like, I want that, or like, why am I not doing that? Or that feels really healthy, or, you know, which is not a bad thing, but I sort of feel the same way when I was like, yeah, like are you, you know, you friends and peers would be like, is this temporary? You know, is this like forever? Like, do you think you're never going to drink again? I'm just like, it's possible. Like, that's a really good possibility. I had friends that were honest and shared that with me. And yeah, I've been thinking about that a little bit, or, you know, that's interesting. Being sober curious, that is definitely becoming more of a mainstream conversation than it ever has, which is really wonderful to see. I mean, they literally just opened up last week a membership club in New York City that is alcohol free.
Oh,
so it's this like swanky, cool bar, club, membership club, where you can like co-working space, restaurant.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure there's like events and pop-ups, but there's no alcohol. So they make mocktails. And it's a really vibey, cool spot. I mean, all over New York, they're opening up these very cool sober bars. It's movement for sure.
Yes, it totally is. I saw something the other day somewhere that alcohol sales are like way down. Like things.
Yeah, I believe it.
Younger kids, they're not doing what we were doing. I'm sure some of them are doing what we were doing in high school.
Yeah.
I think yeah,
for sure. Yes, I could think of a few actually.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, it's people are just learning alcohol. Like, you know, it nobody can deny that ethyl alcohol is poison to our bodies, and that's not a judgment on anybody who takes it in. That's fine. If you consume alcohol, I am nobody's arbiter of their substances.
Yeah.
But the truth is it actually is not good for you. One glass of wine is not good for you. Like we used to.
I know. Did you read Quit Like a Woman?
No, but you're the second person recently who just brought that to my attention.
She really, yeah. I mean, she talks like a lot about like the history of alcohol too, and like the marketing and women. It's bananas. I mean, I read it when I first stopped drinking, and it became like a Bible to me. You know, like reading it those like early days.
I heard it's good.
It's terrible for you. There's no way around it. It's like again, no judgment. But like the same way, like I want to eat like a bag of Sour Patch Kids, like that's not good for me. Like I just know it. You got to just like lean in, right?
Exactly. Like, I do it anyway sometimes, even though I know it's not good for me. That's just
I mean, there's nothing that's good about it. There's zero health-wise, there's nothing good about it.
But I love that you talked about other people's maybe curiosity, questioning, pushback, pressure, however you want to label it. I think a lot of times we are mirrors, right? We're all mirrors of each other.
Yeah.
So same thing with the style. When people are noticing that you've changed, maybe something inside of them is saying, instead of us thinking, oh, they're judging me, whatever, maybe we're empowering them. Maybe by us showing up, they're thinking to themselves, why don't I have the courage to wear that? And making them wonder. Same thing with drinking. I was just with a friend earlier today. She's newly sober, and she was telling me how she's not being invited to some parties and stuff like that. And like that happened to me. I told her about my story when I got sober. They said to her, we're trying to protect you. And I said, oh my gosh, my friend said the same exact thing to me. I said, and they're not trying to protect you. That's actually not the truth. You're triggering something in them where you are a reflection of their own drinking, right? So I think it's very interesting when people care that we're not drinking, especially the ones that push it a lot, especially the ones that are like, oh no, just have a drink. Oh no, just have a drink. It's like most likely they have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. And maybe it could be the same thing with somebody like just to notice is one thing. But if it almost makes somebody else uncomfortable, that like you're now stepping into your power and showing up dressed in a way that really just makes you feel good. And you're different because of that. You're showing up showing up differently, you know? Maybe they're questioning their own. So I think it's service as well to the world to find your soul style. You're actually helping other people, maybe.
I hope so. Yeah. Being sober has completely changed my life. Obviously, not having any kind of substance to use it for like coping or to soften the edges has really forced me to build a certain kind of resilience that I didn't even know I was capable of, you know, and there's so much inner strength and so much grounding that happens through this process. I know a lot of people that don't drink, and there's very similar experiences amongst all of us. I'm 46, so it was like 3.5 years ago. I guess I was 42 or 43, 42. I don't regret, my life before then, but I mean, had I known earlier. So when you say, younger people are making this decision earlier on, I'm just like, yes, go for it. Like, trust me, life-changing, huge impact, like enhances your life like tenfold. I mean, that's been my experience.
I agree 100%. And they're not just not drinking, they're learning coping skills like you're talking about at a younger age. I would say we have no anesthetic. We feel life full blast. And it's freaking painful sometimes, like really painful. My only thing that I could even like remotely say I use would be running, right? Like that's sort of like, I need that, whatever, but that's a healthy one. And to take ashwagandha and holy basil. So I feel like natural herbs are fine, but that's just to kind of, if I'm feeling very anxious about something, it kind of, for me, just a little bit. It's not addictive, of course. I just recently started taking that, but like, and it's not every day, but that's okay. We can soften those edges a little bit with healthy things, whatever that looks like for each of us. But it's a great point about having to go through really painful, tough stuff and not numb ourselves. And it changes us in such amazing ways. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're like the, front runners of something huge here with this sobriety. As everything changes on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, people are going to start being equipped with nervous systems that can handle what.
Yes,
really
exactly. Nervous system. That's like the key word I'm reading right now because you talked a lot about like feeling like how do you feel as opposed to how you think. I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score. I think we talked about this in our DMs on Instagram. I'm still in the process of making sure that I'm like listening to my body and not like only my head. Obviously there's like a relationship there and you have to sort of like, think about both, but we're such a culture that's really, it's like, how do you like, we only listen to our head, but like, it's like listen to your body. So like even in my sobriety, I started doing Pilates, I started moving, I started working out, I go to the gym now. I mean, there's so much strength that's being built from within.
Yes. Amazing, Jenny. Is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with? I always ask my guests if there's any little nugget of wisdom or insight or something that you wanted to share before we sign off.
I was reading that question when you emailed it to me. I was thinking about it. I think this really ties into my own personal work but it's relevant for your soul style and kind of like relevant, I think, across the board. And it taps into authenticity. The word that came to my mind, or two words that came to my mind, was like self-abandoning when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the most important life skills that we can develop is to learn how to not self-abandon through every single aspect of our lives. And when it comes to your soul style, it's like obviously all about being attuned and harnessing your own voice, giving yourself permission to listen to your own voice, and not self-abandoning and having the outside influence and outside noise become too loud. There's a lot of work to be done within that, and a lot of tool building and skill building to get to a point where you feel really certain that you're in this place of not self-abandoning. But I think it's one of the most critical life skills that we need throughout.
I agree 100%. I think it's the vehicle, the pathway to the authenticity.
Yes,
right?
100%.
Living in our truths, like showing up for our own selves and saying like, I might be feeling swayed this way, but no, this is my word for the year is sovereign. And I feel like that might be like the underbelly of being sovereign is like, I'm not as affected. I'm not taking on your stuff, or I'm not trying to please you, or I'm not changing because and for me, it always goes back to loss, right? That you're going to leave, or we're not going to eat, whatever. But yeah, self-abandon, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So where can people find you? Guys, go follow Jenny. You're just so cool. You're just so down to earth and just like blend it all so well. Where should
Thank
it
you,
go?
Amanda. Thank you. My social media, I share a lot over there. It's at Your Soul Style. And my website, where you can learn a little bit more in detail what I do, which is yoursoulstyle.com.
Okay. And I will put all those links below in the description. So awesome, Jenny. Thank you so much for being with us. I really, really enjoyed our time together. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.